Shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is their old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, the founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And oh, what a thrill I have to have this laughing, joyful person in front of me. Not only does he appreciate humor and comedy, but he makes a whole bunch of his own and has for many, many years. You are looking at Tim CAVANAGH. If you are familiar with the Bob and Tom show, a program that has been on since 1983, he's been on it since 1995. He also wrote songs that were performed on the Danny Bonaducci show, right? Plus, most of all, if you love Dr. Demento, as we here in the neighborhood on this program do, you've heard songs like I Want to Kiss Her Butt, She Won't Let Me, and the extraordinary and beautiful 99 Dead Baboons. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who wrote those songs is now currently doing a mini tour in the middle of America. He's going to be in Indianapolis this coming week, then St. Louis the next day, then Mason City on November 8th and 9th on a double bill with no less than Emo Philips. We're talking, of course, to Tim CAVANAGH. Shalom, Tim. Hello.
Shalom, Rabbi. Good to see you. Thank you so much for having me on. That was a great introduction. My gosh, you've actually read about me and stuff. That's outstanding. Uh, it's great to be here. I'm very excited about working with my good friend Emo Philips, who I think is the most brilliant joke writer I have ever worked with. And so it's going to be a very, very fun time. And I've known him forever, and we're good friends. So it's all is good, and it's great to be here with you guys in the neighborhood.
Thank you. And this man does his homework because we were talking briefly before we started taping this, and he was saying, "Oh, he watched segments, and he thought I was so hilarious and bright and witty and handsome." So I'm saying nice things about Dave, but wonderful things about me, which is fine. But tell us, how did I assume you met Emo Philips on the circuit back in the day?
Yes.
And how did you?
Actually, I started out at a club called Zanies in Chicago. And this was back, oh my gosh, 1979. That's a long time ago. And Emo had actually been doing it for a couple of years. And he is also a Chicagoan. So uh, probably the second or third night that I did sets at Zanies, there was Emo and Judy Tenuta and a bunch of other great Chicago acts. And it was like, oh my mind was blown. I mean, these people were so funny, and I was new at it. And just learning, I had funny songs. That's all I had. I didn't have any jokes. I didn't have anything. Uh, but they hired me anyway. And so Emo and I date back to my third day in comedy. So it is 43 years, I believe.
Oh, Mazel. So of course he's different off stage than he is on stage. But can you give us a peek into the emo persona that we don't know?
Emo, emo is very close to the emo that you see on stage.
Really?
It's a bit of an exaggeration, but he is very smart. He is quirky. I will tell you this story about Emo and my wife and I went out to uh, a place called the Jazz Place or something like that in Chicago, and we sat down and the waitress came over and said, "Would you like a cocktail?" And Emo says, "Well, what do you have?"
I missed.
Realizing, of course, I'm realizing uh, this could be an hour dissertation on what they have in terms of cocktails. I
Oh,
mean, that's her job. But that is kind of like, that's when you know you're out with somebody different. Well, what do you have?
I missed.
Could you give me a
Just,
list?
if she says Manischewitz, I know immediately. That's it. Okay.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And old style beer, and I'm happy. But so to this day, I don't know if Emo was just pulling her leg or if he's experimenting. Maybe it was performance art. I don't know. But
Well, no,
the
has he
waitress had,
done things like that in other restaurants, in other situations? Or you say he can be quirky, he can be a little eccentric here and there. What's another example when you saw, oh, he's working a little differently, even when there's not a camera on him or an audience trained on him?
well, there's a famous story of Emo. He was working at a club in Dayton, Ohio, and before the show, some of the audience members who were uh, waiting in line and getting tickets said to the owner, "There's a guy out in your parking lot who is playing the trombone and talking to people, and we really think you should do something about this." Well, it's Emo. He's just an interesting guy, and he's very learned. He's a big reader. He knows a lot of stuff, and he draws on it and somehow makes it amazingly funny. And his mind works fantastic. Um, let's see, what other stories do I know about Emo? This was a almost tragic story. Not really, but uh, we went out to do a road gig, and I picked him up. In Antioch, Illinois, which is where his in-laws live. And I picked him up, and my wife had just gotten a new car, and we decided to take my new car, drive it up to Green Lake, Wisconsin, about a 4-hour drive. So Emo and I had planned to do a song together, and he was going to play the recorder, and I was going to play my guitar and sing "I Want to Kiss Her Butt." She won't let me. Uh, and so as soon as we got into the car, he uh, he says, "Do you mind if I start practicing?" So I'm not out of the driveway, and there's Emo playing his recorder, and I'm kind of a nervous guy anyway. And with Emo, he's one of my heroes. So I pull out of the driveway and I back into the car parked across the street. My wife had warned me, "This is my new car. Please don't let anything happen to it." So it's like, oh, this could not have started off more badly. Uh, so Emo felt terrible about it.
Because
Damage
was
was
it distracting to you that he not only that he
damage was minimal, and he apologized. He said, "Oh, Tim, this is so distracting. I shouldn't have been doing that. I don't know." It was like you were driving with Lola Falana and a lava lamp sitting next to you. It's like,
all right. Yeah,
okay, all
I've done
right.
that. I have done that with Lola. No, no, no.
Not in a
Cheetah
lava lamp.
Rivera. I confused them. No, Cheetah Rivera was in, she was in a lava lamp, and she was doing all the songs from Chicago.
Oh, fantastic.
So
Fantastic. I think we've all had Charo experiences too that we would maybe not want to talk about on the air.
don't tell my dear wife Miriam, Libby, and our 22 and a half beautiful children. There's things that they should not be. So
Yeah, the
who
half
else?
child is that it's not a stepchild, it's a half child, is that?
We're waiting for the head to take its proper shape. It's still
I
very.
understand.
You blow on it, it caves in. It's a problem. Who are some other comedians that you know reasonably well, either in a professional capacity or even a more friendshipy capacity, that you can share stories of? And forgive me for the
W-
dangling participle there.
Well, I have worked with a lot of great people. I did a lot of work with Jay Leno back when he was doing clubs, and still hands down the best club comedian I have ever seen. Just an
What
amazing.
makes him why? What does he have?
He knows how to sell a joke. I mean, not only does he have funny jokes, but there's something about him. He will throw in some physical thing, or I haven't exactly figured out how he did it in the clubs. All I know is the first week I worked with him, um, we did 5 nights in a row, 7 shows, and I watched every single show, and it didn't vary very much. Uh, but I laughed harder the seventh time I saw a show than the first time. And it's like, how does this happen? I mean, I know the joke, I know the jokes, I know it's going to happen, but it's just masterful the way that he told it. Um,
I mean, it's funny about Leno because if you're of a post-certain generation and you used to watch Letterman, Leno's supposedly like the bad guy. But is that be? I mean, is he really actually, as far as you know, a good, decent, gentle person?
he's a really good guy. He's a really, really good guy. Um, he is a great comedian. He is also driven. He is uh, ambitious, and that's some of the things that you might hear about him. That some people would think, oh, that's he shouldn't have done that. No, he's a good guy. Um, he didn't have me on his show, but you know what? That's
Come on, he was on the Tonight Show for 57 years. He could have said, "I know we have 3 minutes. Here's my friend Tim Cavanaugh. Go ahead, sing about the baboons." He
you
could
know
have done
what?
this.
It seemed like that seemed logical to me, but it didn't work out. So whatever. I love Jay, and he's a wonderful guy. Another driving story I have when he was in Chicago, which is home for me. Um, he was working one club, I was working another club, and I picked him up, and we're driving downtown Chicago. And again, I get distracted. I people,
Wait,
other
you
comedians
haven't
call
said
me.
who this is yet. Who? Or
Other comedians tell me I'm the worst
I know.
driver ever. But Jay Leno was sitting next to me in
Jeez.
the
Yeah.
in the death seat. Um, and I'm driving downtown Chicago, and all of a sudden he turns to me and says, I think this is a one-way street, and you're going the wrong way. And sure enough, here comes a car coming right at us. It's like, okay, I'm used to this because those things happen to me.
Right. Yeah, well, this has happened.
Don't ride with me,
No,
whatever you
if
do.
I go to Chicago, I will be certain. Maybe your wife, does your wife drive? I'll go with her. You have children? I think you have children,
Exactly.
right?
We don't have children, but I have a lovely wife.
I love it.
And we were hoping to have a half kid, but it didn't work out.
No, it
Sometimes the
happens.
head doesn't
You
develop
get the
for
quarter
whatever.
going, and then there's right.
Yeah,
You know the old joke is like they're blowing. Oh, we should have quit while he was ahead.
yeah,
That's a classic.
exactly,
I ruined it for
exactly
anyone to
right.
tell it now because I didn't set the joke up. But I gave you the punchline.
You did a nice job.
Thank you.
Uh, one more Jay Leno story, and this is I'd been doing comedy maybe 4 years. And Leno he didn't have the Tonight Show yet, but he'd been on Letterman, you know, a dozen times. So after the show, we go out to a pizza place in Chicago, um, and we're sitting there having a dinner, and a couple guys come up to us, and they look at us, and they say, "Are you Tim Cavanaugh?" I
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
"Well,
yeah.
yes, I am." I
Right,
said,
right, right, right.
"Oh, we think you're so funny. We love you. That's terrific." I said, "Well, this is Jay Leno." "Oh, hi. Oh, Tim, you are so fantastic." I said, they
Did
didn't
he set this?
recognize.
No offense, but did he set this up? Did he?
No, no,
Oh wow.
no. But he kind of accused me of setting it up. He said, so you take me to where all your shills hang out." It's like, but it was a nice moment for me
Yeah, no
because
kidding.
here's the big guy, and hey, you come to my town, and people love me here,
Right,
so
that's good.
you have to put up with my driving.
What would you say is the best gig that you ever got in your 40, what is it, 40 something years as a
43 years.
43 Halava? Yes.
I've done probably the biggest show I did, I mean, in terms of attendance, was probably about 10,000 people outdoors in Iowa, again, middle of the country. That's
Was it
where
like a
I know
state
you
fair or something?
you look quizzical about
But
it, but it's there, and somebody's got to work there, and so I did. Uh, and it was part of they do a big bicycle, not motorbike. I've got a guitar. I just screwed up. Uh, they have a big like bicycle marathon across the state, um, once a year. It's called RAGBRAI. And each town that has it, um, there's like an influx of 10, 20,000 people, and these are small towns. So it's a big deal, at least to them.
Yeah.
So Tipton, Iowa decided to hire me to entertain the crowd at night after they've done bike riding all day and they're going to the next stop. They've still got another, 300 miles to go. Um, and so it was the biggest crowd. It was in a sense kind of the scariest crowd just because it was so big and it was outdoors and yeah, it had a nice stage, but I mean there's people as far as I could see because it's not like the Ellipse in Washington. It's not like you've got a big field in front of you. It's like around their train station, and it was like, okay, and there's 10,000 people, and
And
it's
they're
like,
all bikers, which is
I've got to,
terrifying.
I've
Yeah.
got to keep their attention. And so I did that, and they laughed. So it was okay, and they paid me. And
Man,
so and so,
I'm remembering back to when Steve Martin made it super, super big in like
oh
the
my God, yeah,
70s. And he started playing like 30,000, 40,000 state. And he's like, you're not even doing comedy anymore. You're just saying something, and the audience is laughing that they're there. Did, did,
right.
did that feel like that, or could you still connect when you had 10,000?
I had to connect
Yeah.
because I'm not Steve Martin. So a lot of people knew me from the Bob and Tom radio show, which was very, very big there. So they kind of knew of me, but it's like, is this guy funny or not? Well, Steve Martin, as soon as you pay your ticket and you go in,
Yeah.
you know, and you assume he's going to be funny. Um, I've never met Steve Martin. He is one of my comedy heroes. I talk about a guy with courage. Um, and commitment. He goes on Letterman. First of all, he's always whatever he does, even at this point in his career, he when he does a talk show, he's always prepared. He's got like a little bit that he's going to do that he's never done before. He'll tell you he's never done this before. Uh, and sometimes it doesn't go well. I saw him do a Letterman shot, and it was like song and dance, and he was all over the audience and whatever. And it was just like it wasn't that great. Uh, but he never bailed. He never took the easy way out. He didn't break character. He just he went with it. And I said, that guy has balls.
Yeah. Oh, he said the word. He's
I
matzo.
did. I said it.
Matzo
be-
balls.
I,
Yeah.
I know, Rabbi. I know you are a religious man, a holy man.
Yes. Yes.
Once this gets back to Great Neck and your congregation there, they're going to be disappointed that you didn't
I know.
reprimand me.
At least they didn't say, "Oh, he has a dick." Oh, I have to.
Yeah, no, I didn't say it. I did not say that.
No, you did not say that.
I will not deny it. I won't
Oh,
deny it.
well, you haven't seen. I go. So,
And this is not the place or the time.
so tell
Uh,
us some fun stories about your years doing radio.
Doing radio, well,
Bob and
radio.
Tom and all the yeah, yeah.
Bob and Tom have been wonderful to me. For those people who aren't familiar with it, it's a syndicated morning radio show, all comedy. Um, and they're really great people. It's in Indianapolis, which is in Indiana, which again, not far from Iowa. This is back in the Midwest. We tried to name states alphabetically as much as we could. So you've got Michigan and Minnesota right next to each other. You
Oh,
got
okay,
yeah.
got it, got it.
So anyway, uh, Bob and Tom are based in Indianapolis, and they're really great people. And for years, I had heard because they weren't syndicated in Chicago, I'd never heard the show. And I got booked into a club in Indianapolis, and they said, "Oh, on Thursday morning to promote the club, you'll go and do Bob and Tom." I said, "Oh, I've heard of them." because I have a couple of friends. Oh, blah, 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 blah. It was like, okay, I've never even listened to the show. With this show, I actually looked at a tape from you have archives, and I checked them out, and it's like, well, this will be fun. But Bob and Tom, I just walked in just totally blind. Um, it was just one of those mornings where things worked. Um, I do funny songs, and they love funny songs. And that morning I did. They just said, "Well, do you have another song? Do you have another song? Do you have another song?" And I think I did 12 songs
Oh, yeah.
that morning.
Wow.
And I'm supposed to be on for, 20 minutes, and it's just like, could you do more? Could you do more? Even if you have something half done, it's like, what is this? What this is I walked into heaven here. These people, they are just eating it up. Um, Although their producer, who is a very good friend of mine now, uh, I want to kiss her butt. She won't let me. And he said, aha, that's not his song.
Wait, you wrote that.
I
You
wrote it. I
yeah.
wrote it. But he's hearing all these songs he hasn't heard that are funny. And then I want to kiss her butt. She won't let me. And he said, okay, so we don't know how much of this stuff is stolen because that's not his song. It can't be. What? Well, it was. Uh, so it's been
You
a
weren't
really,
able to
really
prove that very day. They had to figure that out after you were off the air. And
yes,
yeah, right.
yes. He figured it out. Uh, uh, Somebody told him, and then he was very apologetic to me after that. But radio, the way that today has worked for me with radio, podcasts, you know, video. Um, you like to get a little bit warmed up. You like to get to know the person a little bit. I walked into a interview in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
KDKA, I believe, was the station. Um, and It's a morning show. It's a morning serious kind of news. It wasn't comedy oriented. But it's like, okay, we've got this comedian on. So I go on. He said, okay, so here's this comedian, Tim Cavanagh. Okay, Tim, be funny.
Oh well, that's yeah.
And it
Worst
was
two
like,
words in the universe. I mean,
yeah,
I did that. I was conducting a funeral last week, and I go to the widower. I say, okay, here's some. Be funny, and oh, oh,
oh no, it's you're just set up for failure because no matter what you do. I mean, I ended up doing jokes and whatever, and uh, I got out of there with my dignity. I don't know if I made him a fan, but I took the challenge, and that
no,
is that is the name that they call me. That's my professional name, comedian.
yeah.
That's what I do. So it's not, but it's like if your plumber come over and they, hey,
Hey,
Ed,
plum, come over and
plum,
plum. Yes,
plum,
that's right.
the toilet's there. Just talk to him. Just be human first, and then
Well,
you can you
toilet is a
can
cement wall and a microphone. That's your toilet. You go up to
right.
it and you know what to do. Let me ask. No, speaking of still more on a bit of radio. Do you have any Danny Bonaducci stories? What did you do for and with him?
Danny had a radio show in Chicago. He since the Partridge Family, he has stayed in show business and done bits and pieces, and he's actually a really, really great radio entertainer. Very, very funny, very smart, very quick. Um, he's nuts, but we kind of know that about Danny. He is high strung. He is hyperactive. He uh, can get angry. Um, Not at me,
Thank
I
God.
don't think, so much. But I saw. I'd done a show with him. I was a frequent guest, and then I did some writing for him and was co-host of a show that he had in Detroit. So I worked quite a lot with him, and again, a guy that I love. He My first time, my only time working Caroline's in New York was with Danny Bonaducci. Danny was in he had a radio show at that point in New York,
Right.
and so he they said, they want me to go in and do comedy, and I do comedy. He's really funny. Um,
But he's not a
but
stand-up comedian. He is a
he's not a
radio
stand-up comedian. He said, I need
persona.
somebody to go in there with me and do comedy, and then I can go up and do something. So that was my introduction to Caroline's, which was a really fun night and great people. Um, and Danny did fine, but I felt like, okay, he respected me. You're the professional comedian. I'm in a comedy club. And we booked a lot of comedy clubs together
Oh,
after that.
good. Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
it worked out great. Uh, so I had an interesting, fun relationship with Danny. Um, I'm trying to think. Uh, he's famous for, he punched out a transvestite in New
Who
York.
hasn't?
You know,
He was trying to
um,
serve me a bagel. He got
it's the
like,
only way you can find
I'm
out
good.
if they have a penis. Sometimes you have to punch them, and okay, that's a joke. I'm not
I
encouraging
know, I
that.
know.
Rabbi,
Yes, yes.
I'm Catholic, so I was going to say, please forgive me. I don't know if that's in your bag of tricks,
No,
but
Jews don't forgive. We don't
these
forgive. We
these.
don't forgive. We'll just get revenge. Takes a
All
while.
right, all right.
Everybody hates us for it, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I understand that. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Don't
uh,
make me punch you in the penis. This would be bad. This would be.
so anyway, one of the hardest stories, one of the hardest introductions I ever got. Danny and I were doing a benefit um, for abused kids in Chicago,
Yeah.
and it was at the Park West, very, very, very nice venue, probably 2,000 seats or whatever. A benefit, big money, a lot of people. Um, and Danny is emceeing it, and there's a number of comics on. And before I go on, and I'm the closing act, um, he says, well, before I introduce my good friend Tim Cavanaugh, um, he said, I don't like to talk about this very much, but you know, when you saw me in the Partridge Family, that kind of became my real family because they were kind to me and they were nice to me. My father abused me, not sexually,
Yeah.
but emotionally. He would have cigarette burn marks from this man who was a comedy writer and a successful script writer. And I don't know what he had about this is, Danny is 8 years old. He's on the Partridge Family, and he's abusing this kid, and it was horrible. And Danny goes on and he's telling this story, and he starts to cry, and it's like, oh my God, and I'm gonna
And
have to,
here's Tim Cavanaugh. Be funny.
and that's pretty close to how it was. It's oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, well, here's comedian Tim Cavanaugh. It's like, oh, geez, okay. And again, it's like I love Danny. It was a cathartic moment for him. It was a cathartic moment for everybody in the audience.
But
You know,
follow
and
that.
and 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 hopefully, I don't remember exactly how I handled it, but hopefully, I know now. I would say, let's take a breath, everybody, and you
Right,
know,
yeah.
here's
And
for
oh, and here's
Danny, and
special guest
this is
Jeffrey Epstein. Come
this
on,
is
come on. He's not funny.
exactly.
Yeah.
Waitresses,
And he
be
knows
careful.
children. Yeah.
Oh God. So I don't know why I'm concentrating on these horror stories, except that it's more fun.
What's the
I,
truth?
I could just tell you how nice it was and how everything went well, but
No, I always ask also comedians about their hell gigs. I always ask, what is the worst, most crap hole place that you ever blah, 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 blah. I always assume it was that.
Yeah, fill in the blank. There are many of them. Um, uh, I worked a place, Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Again,
Not
I
Michigan.
know you're not used to having a guest like this on.
Actually,
Who
you've
just
seen my show. I am. Wait. But Grand Rapids, Minnesota, or Michigan?
Grand Rapids, Minnesota, very small town. It's the birthplace of Judy Garland.
Oh, okay. So it's somewhere over the rainbow.
Yes, exactly.
I apologize.
You just follow the yellow brick road, and that's where the club is. But it wasn't a club; it was a bar. Us comedians, especially when we're learning our craft, you work at like comedy
And
clubs
you
where
work.
people come in. It says comedy on the building. They come in because it's comedy. Then there's the one-nighters that they add to these little runs that, it's a Tuesday night at, Roy's Grill, uh, comedy night, and uh, barbecued beef sandwiches only $1.95. That's the billing. Usually the barbecued beef is on top and then comedian, and they never have the name. It doesn't matter. Um, and I was listening to people before the show as people are coming in, and I was talking to one person. I said, "Well, I was hoping that we'd have a little bigger crowd than we have." And the guy said, "Well, I tried to get my friend to come." He said, "Comedy." He said, "I don't want to go to a place and just have some guy swear at me for an hour and a half." And it was just like, okay, you've not been exposed to good comedy. Um, I was going to try to do that for them, but you just realize that some you run into some places that just like they're just not quite ready for this.
Well, yeah,
I
but
had I
you are quote unquote known-ish for working clean-ish.
Yes,
So I mean, you're
but
so
they don't know
great.
that. They
Yeah.
just see comedian and they think it's going to be aggressive in your face, uh, you know, insult stuff, and it's like sometimes it is. It usually isn't, but um,
Well, maybe in that bar and grill with $1.95 sandwiches, part of
well,
that
this that see
is
to
your
me, it's like this could be your starter kit as a comedy fan. For $1.95, and you're probably paying $2 to see the comic. It's like okay, it's like me the first time I went to Las Vegas, um, and I'm gonna play blackjack in Las Vegas, and I found a place that's got like a $2 table, and it's like, okay, this is where I'll learn it.
yeah.
I'm
You
not I'm
lose
not gonna I'm
25
not gonna
bucks.
sit at the
Right.
$5, $10 table. The same with comedy. It's like, okay, you want to get your feet wet, you know, don't spend $80 on a ticket.
Yeah.
Go to your local place and get a feel for it. And you'll be surprised at how good some of these acts are.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's gonna be
So, I mean,
any open
that's
mic night. You're always yeah.
yeah, again, I'm romanticizing it, but it is it's an interesting profession, interesting journey, and people come in with all kinds of expectations. I was the only night that I had to go out the back door after a show, and it wasn't because of my show, but I was working with two guys. This is I think I can just say the name, Owensboro, Kentucky. Again, a one-nighter, they have comedy, once a month or whatever, and it's a variety of things. And I was working with um, a very, very funny black kid from Washington, D.C. Nicest guy, funny. And then I was working with a Jewish guy, very, very funny, a
Not
dear
so nice,
friend.
but very fun. Okay, yeah.
And then you got the regular white guy like me, which is kind of what they're used to.
All right.
Uh, there's some places, should I say this? There's
Oh,
some places in this country where black people and Jewish people are not welcomed with open arms.
Really?
and it's wrong and it's horrible, and
I mean, the
that's just
blacks I understand, but the Jews, this is
the
I got
Jews are wonderful, and the blacks are they're all wonderful. I love everybody. You know that. You've talked to me for 15
so were
minutes
they
about it.
heckled badly? Was that the deal when they were on?
They started that they heckled, and there were actually threats that were expressed. Um, wait till, we'll see you in the parking lot afterwards, and the black guy who knows Washington, D.C., I don't know, this may have been his first trip to the Midwest. And you don't think
Oh,
Owensboro,
Kentucky's not the
Kentucky,
Midwest. That's the South.
that's the South.
Owensboro, Kentucky is the South. So
It is the South. Well, and that's what I learned, interestingly, that night and many other nights. Although the South creeps up into Southern Illinois and Southern I, or you get, and again, I don't want to
Southern
demean
Maine,
any.
amazingly enough. Yeah.
It does happen. So anyway, the two guys I
You
was
go out.
with
You
were
all
scared
left.
to death. I'm driving, um, and I'm a nurturing person. I care. I said, yeah, we got to get out of here. And we went out the back door, got in our car, avoided any trouble, and got out of there. But it was the first time that I felt real danger.
How long? This was the 1980s.
Yeah, probably mid 80s,
Okay, I was just
late
told how
80s.
long ago that was.
Yeah.
Hey, well,
So you don't know. I mean, it's like people say, you do stand-up comedy, you've got to have, boy, that takes courage. Um, I got into it because I didn't know any better and I was stupid but funny. So it worked out for me. If I'd known, people say, "Oh, I could never do that." It's like, "Oh, yeah, you can." But
if you want to see how stupid and funny Tim Cavanaugh can be, you're going to want to go to Indianapolis on November 6th. You're going to want to see him in St. Louis, Missouri on the 7th, and then in Mason City, Illinois, his home state. That's happening on the 8th and the 9th of next week. And he will be appearing, of course, with the great Emo Philips. Remember that if you want to find out more things about Tim Cavanaugh, it's timcav.com, not cav like a moo 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 cow, CAV, timcav.com. But we're not done with you. We haven't even played any kind of music yet. So I want to ask you, before I even forget or we run out of time, I want to know the genesis of your parody version of the Nena song, 99. Well, it was 99 Luftballons.
99 Luftballons. Uh, and then it's by Nena, who was a German artist and had a big hit in Germany with 99 Luftballons. And then uh, she did an English translation, 99 Red Balloons, which was a big hit. Um, and my wife and I were on a road trip, and it had been a long drive, and the song came on, and I just started singing stupid, goofy words, and we are so tired and so giddy. We laughed at everything, and it was just the silliest, stupidest song we ever did. Uh, but that's what people came to know me for. So can I do it?
Yes! Yes!
All right.
Tim
Um,
Cavanaugh, 99 Dead Baboons!
this is a song again to set this up properly. I'd heard the German version of the song first, and I really liked it. Then I heard her English translation. And I was disappointed because what you're singing in German, what you're singing in English, not even close. I mean, I took nearly a semester of German in school, so I know a little
It's
something
an
about the language.
anti-military song in the German one. It's
Yeah, well,
seriously, yeah.
uh, again, I don't even want to even mention. Okay.
Germans and military? No, it would never occur to us that they.
No, no, no. Those don't go together, um, or shouldn't. Anyway, so I came up with a new English translation of 99 Red Balloons that I think is a little bit more accurate. A couple lines I'm not real sure about, but I do the best I can. Here we go. Hello, Bobby, my old friend. It's good to see you once again. How's your mother? How's your aunt? How's your father's skin diving suit? That's one of the lines I'm not really sure about. I've got something you should see. Back at my place, come with me. I've got some brand new furnishings, plus 99 dead baboons. 99 dead baboons sitting in my living room. Not too functional, it seems, but quite a conversation piece. This one's Jake, that one's Dinah. There's Big Ned, my recliner. No, it's not a lazy boy. Can't you see it's a dead baboon? Dead baboon. Dead baboon. Dead baboon. Dead baboons. How they got here, I'm not sure. Woke up one day, there they were. Luckily, I've got a lease allowing pets if they're deceased. I'm just thankful they're not apes, because apes would clash with the drapes. No more napkins at my parties. Wipe your hands on a dead baboon. Dead baboons. Everybody. Dead
Dead baboon,
baboons.
dead
Dead
baboon,
baboons. Dead
dead baboon.
baboons. Dead baboons are lots of fun. Playing water balloons, I've always won. You can keep your dead giraffes and swine. I'll take dead baboons every time. There's just one problem I have now. It's finding Purina dead baboon chow. But what a happy snorkeling device. That's the other line I'm not real sure about. With 99 dead baboons, dead baboons,
Dead
dead
baboon,
baboons.
dead baboons. Everybody, dead baboons. Ladies and gentlemen,
All
Tim
right.
Cavanagh. I have to. Was that line part of the car trip? I think one of the greatest lines in the history of novelty song comedy is about the Purina dead baboon chow. There
Thank you. That was
that,
part of it. That was all on it. We might have been actually going pretty close to Omaha, Nebraska, which is where Ralston Purina, the Chex people, make it. The
I
whole Midwest thing, it's paying off.
and,
It really is. Not for a lot of people, but for me, it's okay.
and did you know when you wrote that line, when you wrote the whole song? I mean, you were laughing at everything. You were punchy. You were in the car. You were
Yes.
exhausted. But did you have a sense when you hit that line that you had something extraordinary?
Well, you know what? I never know what lines people are going to like and what they I mean, you know this. You're a funny person. You do jokes, and it's like, you can have great jokes that I think everybody should laugh at that, but they don't. And so you don't use it. But, uh, that's a song that when we got home and we stopped laughing, we decided, well, maybe I should try to put this together and try it out. And, that was the song. It's still my best known song, and it's fun. It's just fun. It's fun and goofy.
It's okay. I mean, and it's a parody. You don't always write parody songs. You also write,
No, no, I do a lot of original songs, but I still do some parodies, and I have a lot of fun with them.
and you still write them. You still write brand new ones, and you're still writing new
Yes,
material.
yeah, absolutely.
Are you one of
Um,
those people like Alan Alda in that Woody Allen movie, walking around with a tape recorder, like yeah? Oh, I just thought of you. Or do you carry index? What do you have a process for getting stuff
I always have a pen, and because I'm sitting at my desk, I don't have uh, this in my pocket, but I always have a notebook. And if you really want to annoy people,
I do.
say something funny when you're out to dinner and then say, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Narcissist has to write this one down because he doesn't want to forget it. So maybe you can put it in his big shot act." Uh, yeah, it's
It's
embarrassing. I,
interesting.
I
Some of
usually just
your
try to remember them and not write them down what I'm actually doing. But
oh, no, it's weird. Your intonation is sometimes just like emos. Sometimes you do the voices on the face. Maybe because you're working together and such close friends.
because we worked together, we came up together. Um, I had one critic in Chicago. Um, who loves emo. Everybody loves emo. I love emo. Um, and he was talking to another comic. Said, "Well, Tim Cavanagh, he seems he's a little too much like emo. Emo's really rubbed off on him." And the other comic, God
That's not
rest his soul, except he's still alive. It was Jeff Garlin, in fact, uh, said to the critic, "Well, maybe some of Tim is rubbed off on emo."
there you go. Thank
I'll
you,
take
Jeff
that. I
Garland.
mean, I don't believe that, but it's like, well, thank you for standing up for me because I'm not stealing from emo. But and in fact, we do as many shows together as we can. I mean, we're both in different places, and he's in LA and I'm in Chicago and whatever. But we love to work together. Um, and what he does and what I do are really different. But, if they're facial things and
Yeah,
intonations or
it
whatever.
was something that I noticed when you started doing these different. But let me
Well,
also
I usually don't do any characters like, "Hey, you stupid big shot actor." But that doesn't sound like emo either.
well, when you there's a
But
bit.
I did. No, I know.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
know. And the more I work with them, the more you fall into that. And I try not to be emo or anybody else.
Well,
And
speaking of
emo
working, yeah,
is one of a kind.
working with someone for a very long time. You've been married for what is it, 50, almost 50 years.
Almost 50 years. Yes, 47, as a matter of fact.
McMazel McGlick. So,
Yeah, it's worked out well. I've got a great wife, and she understands what I do, and she's funny herself, and we've had a blast doing this.
so your life has put you on the road, I'm sure, a lot. I mean,
Yes,
work that you say, all right, the next 3 weeks I'm gone, or does she sometimes come with you if it's more local, or
she, we did in the most active touring years, she traveled with me. So, I mean, we probably did the road together 20 years. And then we finally could afford a decent place to stay. And once we got a house, she said, "Okay, you go do the road. I'm happy where I am."
yeah.
It gets old. Not for
Will you get
me. Not
old?
for me. Not for me because I get the applause every night
Right,
or
right.
most nights
Yeah.
or the raspberries or whatever it is that they.
I don't think you get a lot of raspberries these days. Oh, well, speaking of which, before I forget, we've been so happy in this and that, except for the child abuse thing, which is so.
Yeah, I shouldn't have brought that
No,
up.
no, you should have, because now I'm going to bring up cancer because
Oh, okay.
you survived cancer. Alibi. Yeah, yeah.
I am very, very, very lucky. Uh, Unlucky to get cancer, as all cancer victims are. Um, but I was diagnosed 4 years ago with pancreatic cancer. Um, I was very, very lucky. I actually had some symptoms that, which normally people don't get that.
when you
And
woke up
so,
one day, your pancreas was on the floor gasping. That is a signal. That is a
well,
heart.
you know what?
Drink orange juice. Yeah, this is
Yeah. And
terrible.
then the spleen started screaming, "Help me, I'm lonely, help." Uh, so, um, so we had to do the proper removal of the pancreatic tumor and a third of the pancreas. So, yeah, it was, they found the cancer early, which is the only reason that I'm still here. Um, and got great medical care at Northwestern Medical here in Chicago. Great institution. Um, and it was really a life-changing experience. And I'm learning that I look at things a little bit differently. My wife thought, "Oh, okay, now that he's gone through this, he's going to be less nervous. He's going to be less anxious, because it's like, oh, once you've done that, what are you afraid of?"
But it didn't.
Well, you're still who you are, and you're still afraid of everything, and you're afraid it's going to come back. So
Well, they also
you know,
say that when people have near-death heart incidents and things like that, they actually go through depression if they don't die.
right,
So there's a, did you, or when you
You
went
have to go through you go through a lot of things. The hardest part of my recovery was getting back on stage. Um, because they removed my a third of my pancreas.
well, they didn't take out your
Um,
funny bone. I don't, yeah, all right.
yeah, but they might have. You don't. The whole thing is you don't know when it's all done. They took out my duodenum. They took out a tenth of my stomach. They took out my gallbladder, um, and did an amazing job. And then afterwards, I had some complications, some respiratory things. I was on a ventilator. It's just, it's a horrible. I mean, fortunately, I was unaware of a lot of what was going on. Uh, but I had to go through some physical therapy because I was laid up for 28 days or whatever, so you can't walk after that. So you go through a lot of things, and one of the weirdest things, the therapy that I went through, therapy, but also through speech therapy and the other one that I can't remember. Speech therapy and occupational therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, and speech therapy, I thought, well, I can talk. I'm still able to do that. But they're checking your cognitive ability. Um, because
I
I mean,
failed
there was,
that 30 years ago. I don't know. Yeah, okay.
yeah. Well, there was a point in my recovery when I was having the respiratory problems where, I said, well, we think he was deprived of oxygen for, we don't know, maybe a minute or a couple minutes or whatever. It's like, oh, geez, okay. And so they didn't know, is there going to be brain damage? Is it, what is this? And physically, I'm different. So I was really anxious and looking forward to getting back to work and getting back on stage. But what I learned through my uh, psychologist that the hospital let me use. I had been through some therapy before that anyway, so I kind of knew
What
what this
comic
was
hasn't
about.
that yet? Right.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people from Iowa and in Indiana, but a lot of us Chicagoans have had therapy. Uh, anyway, in speech therapy, they're trying to see how you are cognitively. And you go through a number of tests and stuff like that, and one day they gave me a list of different like puzzles and things like that, and it was too much in that there's too much to do. And so my time was almost up, and I had two mazes that I hadn't finished. And it's sort of like, okay, I got a minute to do these mazes. It's like, okay, well, I like to think that I'm okay at mazes, but I didn't get them done. And so the therapist at the end of it says, well, you've got some executive functioning problems. Now, I didn't know what executive functioning even meant. Do you know
As the
what? I
head of
don't
a
know.
corporation, I don't know. Yeah, well,
Exactly. But apparently it's something that was worrisome. Um, she said, you can't do mazes. I said, okay. I mean, I didn't argue at
and
that
so it'll
point.
put me in Iowa with corn on Halloween. Yeah, otherwise I'm
Exact,
fine.
exact.
Yeah.
I will never get out. Exact. um, so
Wait, don't put your guitar away. We'll want that in a
we'll
moment.
do one more song. Yeah, that'd be great. So anyway, the bottom line is, I'm very competitive. I like to think that I'm right. I like puzzles. I've always loved puzzles. It's like, damn, you're saying I can't do a maze? You don't know me. I I can do a maze, and I was really depressed for about 3 hours that this I can't
This
do a
person
maze
who
anymore.
never met you, who didn't know, right? Yeah.
And
Okay.
then I realized, you're 68 years old. When was the last time you needed to do a maze?
Right.
I mean, if I can never do a maze again,
There you go.
as you
What's
say, if
more
I end up
important?
in an Iowa cornfield, I'm going to be in trouble. But
Yeah.
other than that,
Yeah. It was more important that the occupational therapist went to you and said, What's your occupation? Comedian. All right, be funny. And you made her laugh. And she said, you're fine, get back on stage, you're great. So let me remind people and tell people again, you can see Tim Cavanagh in the middle of the country. They're not like New York and California, like the real places. There's Indianapolis on the 6th, St. Louis on the 7th of November, and then 2 shows in Mason City, Illinois on the 8th and 9th. For all things Tim Cavanagh, including what else he's up to, grabbing a copy of his music too, it's timcav.com, TIMCAV.com. So I want to, first of all, thank you incredibly much for being so delightful and so fun, even though you're not Jewish. I won't hold it against you.
Thank you, Saul. And I'm going to be talking to people, and I'm going to try to get my papers changed.
So how are you going to go out with us?
You know what? I'm going to do a song that is really doesn't need an explanation, which is good. Makes it easier. But it's about being a comedian, and it goes like this. Oh, it's great to be a comedian on vacation. Just relax and have a drink or two. Like I went to this bar last night, and in walked a 10-foot Polish guy, a black guy and his Jewish friend. And nothing funny happened. Hey, I'm on vacation. Play some golf. Had a lot of fun. Didn't even think to wear 2 pairs of pants in case I got a hole in one. Crossed a horse and a donkey. Normally I get a honky, but this week I got a mule, 'cause I'm on vacation. I'm taking time off, gonna rest my funny bone. Why did the chicken cross the road from August 3rd through the 12th? You're on your own. But I changed the light bulb by myself. A blonde gave me computer help. It's great to be. Oh, it's great to be. Knock, 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 knock. I'm not. Sorry, I'm screwing this up.
No,
knock, 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 knock. I'm not gonna answer. I'm off the clock. It's great to be a comedian on vacation. All right, that's more or less.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Cavanagh. Go see him. Go love him as we do now in the neighborhood. Thank you so much. Health to you and your lovely.
Thank you, and to you too.
I'm assuming. And good things to you, and best of luck on your tour, and all keep us posted on every comical thing that you are doing. Thank you so much.
Health to you and your Makatanum.
Thank you. Shalom to you.
I misuse Yiddish all the time.
Yeah, but it's good enough. We know your heart. Your heart's in the right, your pancreas and your duodenum not so much, but
not in the right place at all.
Is in the right place. Bye-bye. Shalom.
Bye-bye.